This section of the course will discuss addition and subtraction in the early childhood through second grade classrooms. For each grade band in this course, we'll learn about the TEKS in the grade level, academic vocabulary specific to that grade level, a concrete and a representational and an abstract example, including in-person and virtual learning options for addition and subtraction. Let's begin with kindergarten addition and subtraction TEKS. In kindergarten, students are expected to solve word problems using objects and drawings to find sums up to 10 and differences within 10. They're also expected to model the action of adjoining to represent addition and the action of separating to represent subtraction. They're also expected to explain strategies used to solve problems involving addition and subtraction within 10 using spoken words, concrete and pictorial models, and number sentences. Let's watch a kindergarten concrete example that models the action of joining to represent addition.
Hi guys, so today
let's take a look at a kindergarten representation example where we will solve a word problem using objects and drawings to find sums up to 10 and differences within 10. So there's 5 bears on the bus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 2 of the bears get off the bus. So I have a drawing of 5 circles to represent the bears. And now I'm going to represent taking away of the 2 bears that get off the bus by crossing them out. This is a representation example for this standard. Okay, now let's take a look at a kindergarten abstract example. Okay, so we are going to explain the strategies used to solve problems involving addition and subtracting within 10 using spoken words, concrete, and pictorial models. And now we are going to introduce number sentences. So for addition, I have an example where I have 1 blue dot and 3 red dots. To go back to our previous standard where we join these two blue and red dots, we can now show the number sentence of 1 blue dot plus 3 red dots equals a total of 4 dots total. Okay, now let's look at a subtraction example where we have 4 blue dots and a cross over one of them to show taking away. So a number sentence that would match this representation would be 4 blue dots, take away 1 dot, equals 3 dots remaining. This is an example of how abstract is introduced in a kindergarten classroom. As you can see, as students move on to first grade, there are an abundance of more addition and subtraction standards that are introduced from the previous grade level. Students are now beginning to add and subtract within 20, represent word problems up to 20 using concrete and pictorial models. They're able to apply properties of operations to add and subtract 2 or 3 numbers. They're going to be using concrete and pictorial models to determine the sum of a multiple of 10, like 10, 20, 30, 40, and a 1-digit number, like 40 plus 4, up to 99. So the highest you can go is 90 plus 9. They can use objects and pictorial models to solve word problems involving joining and separating, just like kindergarten. And this time we can now compare sets within 20 and unknowns as any one of the terms in the problem, such as 2 plus 4 equals an unknown, 3 plus unknown equals 7, and 5 equals an unknown, subtract 3. This is where we talk about the missing add-ins or the missing parts or the missing holes. Okay, students also can begin to compose 10 with 2 or more add-ins with and without concrete objects. They apply basic facts to add and subtract within 20, including making 10 and decomposing a number leading to a 10. They explain strategies used to solve addition and subtraction problems up to 20 using spoken words, objects, pictorial models, and number sentences, just like kinder. They can now skip count by 2s, 5s, and 10s to determine the total number of objects up to 120 in a set, which we know will later connect to multiplication in future grade levels. They understand that the equal sign represents a relationship where expressions on each side of the equal sign represent the same value, which is huge for the abstract portion of CRA. And lastly, they determine the unknown whole number in an addition or subtraction equation when the unknown may be any one of the 3 or 4 terms in the equation, like the previous example in 1.3b. Now let's take a look at some examples. In first grade, some important notes to take away for teachers that it's crucial to use manipulatives in first grade. The learner adds and subtracts up to 2-digit numbers. We're not going up to 3-digit numbers. And as mentioned in the standards on the previous screen, there is no regrouping in first grade. That's when we saw 90 plus 9. If you notice, there was no 2-digit plus 2-digit like 90 plus 11. They use tiles or manipulatives to represent addition, such as 6 plus 4 equals 10. They use base 10 blocks to represent addition or subtraction using 10 frames, and they complete number sentences for the unknown. Some important vocabulary introduced in first grade are the words doubles, fact family, make 10, think addition, count on, twos, fives, tens, comparing, distance, unknown value. What might have been previously introduced in kinder, some words that they can reference and build on from, are addition, difference, number sentence, equation, subtraction, sum, addition, difference, joining, number sentence, equation, separating, subtraction, and sum. Let's take a look at a first grade concrete example that explains strategies used to solve addition and subtraction problems up to 20 using spoken words, objects, pictorial models, and number sentences. So this problem says there's 9 boys in a class and 5 girls in a class. How many boys and girls are in the class?
We're going to start looking at the Make 10 strategy by using concrete materials. This is a double 10 frame and it helps students to quickly see how many are in each part that they are going to be adding together. We're going to put some counters on the 10 frame to show what 9 plus 5 would look like. So we're going to show 9 with the red counters, and we'll put those all over here on this 10 frame. And then we're going to show 5 with the green counters.
Now let's take a look at a first grade representation example of the same problem we solved previously. So instead of using counters, now we can move to the representation of a drawing of the 9 boys. So here's the 9 boys, here's the 5 girls, and I can still use the make 10 strategy by erasing or moving over one of the girls to the boys so I can make a 10. And now I have a simpler problem of 10 plus 4 to demonstrate 14 boys and girls in the class. Okay, now let's take a look at the first grade abstract example. As students begin to get more and more developed in the concrete and representation, then they can move to a number sentence representation of the problem with the 9 boys and the 5 girls. The equation would read 9 plus 5 equals 14, which they could solve horizontally. They could also decompose the 5 into 1 and 4 to still use the make 10 strategy and use the problem 10 plus 4 equals 14. Now let's take a look at the second grade TEKS that reference addition and subtraction. Students in second grade will now begin to solve one-step and multi-step word problems involving an addition and subtraction within 1,000 using a variety of strategies based on place value, including algorithms. They can generate and solve problems for a given mathematical number sentence involving addition and subtraction of whole numbers within 1,000. They can recall basic facts to add and subtract within 20 with automaticity. They can add up to 4 two-digit numbers and subtract two-digit numbers using mental strategies and algorithms based on their knowledge of place value and properties of operations. And lastly, they can represent and solve addition and subtraction word problems where unknowns may be any one of the terms in the problem. Okay, some important second grade teacher notes. For the TEKS we just read is that it's important to start with base 10 blocks as a foundation of place value. The learner adds and subtracts up to 4 two-digit numbers with regrouping. Some concrete examples that they'll need to know is that they use base 10 block to add or subtract up to 3-digit numbers with regrouping within 1,000. Some representational examples could be a number line to add and subtract or to draw place value blocks. And lastly, abstract. Students are going to now begin using the algorithm for solving addition and subtraction problems with regrouping. Okay, some important second grade academic vocabulary that was previously introduced that they're going to continue to use are the terms addition, comparing, difference, distance, fact family, joining, number sentence or equation, separating, subtraction, sum, or unknown value. Now let's take a look at a second grade concrete example. Students are going to solve a one-step addition problem within 1,000 using a place value base 10 blocks strategy. So the problem reads, students went to the museum for a field trip, 348 students went on Monday, 234 students went on Tuesday. How many students went on Monday and Tuesday combined? Let's take a look at a concrete example of this.
So let's start with our ones. Now that we have our ones organized in rows of 5, let's look at our tens. Now that our tens are organized in rows of 5, let's organize our hundreds. So now that we have our blocks organized, this leaves us with 5 hundreds, 7 tens, and 12 ones. We can't have 12 ones, so that means we need to do something different. What we need to do is called regrouping. This means that we need to regroup 10 ones and trade them for 1 10. So let's look at how this happens. We're going to trade 10 ones and regroup them into 1 10. So after we have traded 10 ones for 1 10, this leaves us with 5 hundreds, 8 tens, and 2 ones. So the sum of our equation, 348 plus 234, is 582.
Let's take a look at a second grade representation example of the same problem. Instead of using place value blocks, this time students are going to draw a representation of those place value blocks. For hundreds blocks, they are going to represent using a square. For tens rods, they're going to draw a line. And for a 1 or units cube, they are going to either use a dot or an X. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at 348. That would be represented this way. Let's look at 234. That would represent this way. Looks like I'm missing a cube. Okay, and there it is. Okay, and we could also add very similarly, combine the ones to regroup into a tens with 2 ones left over. And now we have 8 tens and 5 hundreds. Now let's take a look at a second grade abstract example of the same problem. As students become more fluent in the concrete and representation, examples of using place value blocks to add 2 3-digit numbers, then they can finally be introduced the algorithm. It is important to note that when the algorithm is introduced, using correct place value language is crucial for students to make the connection. So saying 8 ones plus 4 ones equals 12 ones, let's regroup 12 of those ones as 1 10 and 2 ones. 1 10 plus 4 tens plus 3 tens is 8 tens, and 3 hundreds plus 2 hundreds is 5 hundreds. Now I would like for you to think about the trajectory of addition and subtraction that we learned about from early childhood to second grade. In the discussion post, I would like you to discuss the changes in addition and subtraction TEKS from early childhood to second grade. Regarding the CRA instructional approach, what is your biggest takeaway? Use the discussion post Jamboard link attached to this topic to respond to the discussion topics. For your final course deliverable, you are going to choose one of the following to be your final product to submit for course completion for this course for your Flex Day credits. You are either going to, number one, use the CRA model to create a sample of how you will carry out addition or subtraction. Be sure to be specific with your focus. Are you going to be working with 1-digit numbers or 2-digit numbers or 3-digit numbers up to 10, 20, 120, or 1,200? You can use this presentation as an example. Or your other option is in 2 to 3 pages, summarize your learning from this online course. Be sure to relate this learning to your current or upcoming teaching assignment. Lastly, be sure to submit your assignments into the Google Classroom. Title your name as follow, your assignment as follows. Put your first name, dot your last name, dot to the course title, addition, subtraction. An example of this would be John.Doe, addition and subtraction. Okay, good luck and thank you for your time in this course today.